Good evening, brothers. For those who don't know me, I am Brother Eric Lastres. I graduated from Belen in 2018, from UF in 2021, entered the Jesuits in August of 2021, professed my vows in 2023, and then for the last 3 years I've been in St. Louis doing philosophy studies. And now for the next 2 to 3 years I've been missioned to Miami to work at Belen and helping the Jesuits in all of our ministry around Miami. So it's very much a welcome home coming here in the ACU tonight, and I'm gracious for your hospitality. It was about 10 years ago at this point that I was first introduced to the Agrupación when a group of friends and I were really thirsty. We were students at Belen, and we were just kind of hungry for more formation, for more space to grow in our faith. And a few of us came up with a crazy idea to start this group of formation. We presented it to Father Willie, who was director of the ACU at the time, and he had the great idea to create the Estovid group. And this was, I know Eric's in the back, and it's 10 years ago already, which is wild. But it's a great privilege to be back here. Today, the Church and the Society of Jesus celebrates another man who also had a deep thirst, a thirst greater than mine, for sure. This man, Alberto Hurtado, was not known for one thing, because he didn't do just one thing. He was known for many things. He gave the spiritual exercises. He was a teacher. He was a lawyer. He started an orphanage. He was a reporter and started a newspaper to kind of spread the word in all these different places and ways in Chile. He had a deep thirst to serve God wherever he saw need, wherever he met need. But more than all the things that he did, which he did many, San Alberto Hurtado, I think for us, is a model because of how he did it. Not what he did, but how he did it. Everybody who knew San Alberto Hurtado, and even from his many writings, we can tell of just the incredible generosity, the great joy, the zeal that he had, despite having all these many things that filled his time. He never once felt tired or wanting to give it up. And even when he did, in those moments, he doubled down because he knew of how important his service and his ministry was. After San Alberto died, there was a phrase that is still very kind of often attributed to the person of San Alberto Hurtado to describe his life. And in English, it's a fire that kindles other fires. Un fuego que enciende otros fuegos. Right? A fire that lights other fires. And I think for us, that is just a great phrase to inspire us. Because in Alberto's life, in the 1900s, he spent a lot of his life fighting against the same things that we fight against in our world today. Fighting against materialism, fighting against the traps of fame and honor and wealth and riches. Right? These worldly pursuits that are so enticing for us, for all of us. And in many ways, in the eyes of the world, is the way in which we understand success. The world looks at us and asks us, how much money do you make? Right? How many businesses have you run? What position do you have? What car do you drive? What does your house look like? Right? Where have you gone on vacation? These are very much still the same questions, I think, that dominate our society today. But San Alberto knew something and felt something and lived something very different. Because he knew that deep down, the only thing that could bring us lasting joy and peace and purpose and love was living our lives entirely for Christ. Living our lives entirely in service, not just to God, but to all of those who came across him, to the poor in the streets, to the little kids who had no homes, to those who had no access to church or to the Word of God or to legal services. San Alberto did everything that he could to bring Christ to those people. He lived his entire life not looking at himself, not pursuing his own security, his own honor, his own comfort, but just the opposite. And I think this gospel today that the church offers us on this feast of San Alberto Hurtado very much reflects that challenge, because it is a challenge for us to live the gospel, to live our lives in complete surrender, constantly looking at the other, constantly looking for opportunities to serve, to give of ourselves, to give the magis, the more, is a challenge, my brothers. It's a great challenge. It's countercultural. To give to the hungry, to give water to the thirsty, to welcome the stranger, to clothe the naked, to care for the ill, to visit the imprisoned. The corporal works of mercy are countercultural. They're really, really difficult. And yet, Jesus invites us to adopt the same way that he adopted, to live his life in total service to others. And it's not because it's a good thing to serve. And it's not because that's our duty. It's because that is Christ. Because that is where we find Jesus. Because we find Jesus when we create space in our hearts, and that only happens when we're looking outside of ourselves. That only happens when we're serving. That only happens when, like Jesus offers us his sacred heart, we can only receive that when we take out ours and create space for his. I love coming to the ACU and standing on this side, looking towards you, because I'm always reminded of this cross that is so significant for us in the ACU. Right? This cross that has accompanied the Agrupación for a long, long time. I'm not going to even guess since when, because I don't know the answer to that. But for a long, long time, right? And those three questions that Ignatius in the 1500s in the spiritual exercises offers us, right? ¿Qué he hecho por Cristo? What have I done for Christ? ¿Qué hago por Cristo? What am I doing for Christ? ¿Qué he de hacer por Cristo? What am I being called to do for Christ? Those questions, my brothers, are the same questions that San Alberto Hurtado challenges us to today, that the gospel challenges us to today, and that I think we in our lives are challenged to every day. But I want to offer you a slight kind of moment of reflection. Before we can ask those questions, I'd like to offer you to reflect on ¿Qué Cristo ha hecho por mí? What has Christ done for me? What is Christ doing for me? ¿Qué Cristo está haciendo por mí ahora? ¿Y qué Cristo va a hacer por mí? What is Christ going to do for me? At the end of the day, our service, no matter how generous we are, how zealous we are, how much we give, how much time we spend serving the poor, or giving retreats, or doing our apostolates, or growing in our formation, or praying, or living our spiritual life, no matter how much of all of that good stuff we do, it means nothing if it doesn't come as a response to God's love for us. It means nothing if we haven't first encountered the same Christ that San Alberto Hurtado encountered. This, my brothers, I think is the invitation for us today. And so I'd invite you not to wait, not to pay attention to your security or your comfort, but to ask, how can I give God, how can I give Christ a little bit more? Because we know how much Christ has given to us.